Good morning and welcome to another episode of Western New York at Work. I'm your host, Dale Martin, and today we have another fantastic conversation in store for you. Today's guest is Mr. Michael Heflin, who is the Assistant Dean of Inclusion and Equity at Buffalo State College. Good morning, Buffalo, and welcome to Western New York at Work, your business-friendly conversation each and every Saturday morning at 10:30 a.m., where we talk about a number of things. And one of those things that we often talk about is really the pulse of Western New York, and more than just our community, what's happening around the country. And so I'm very excited about today's conversation because we have a gentleman, an expert that's going to not only share with you his story, but how he is helping young men and women throughout all of Western New York. Now, before we bring our today's guest, I just want to preface the fact that we've had a lot of social discord and civil unrest throughout the nation. And so this conversation is very near and dear to me. And I think it's important that here at Western New York at Work that we start to have the tough conversation. We start to have the conversations that our community is maybe some individuals are afraid to address. And so today's subject matter expert, without further ado, is Mr. Michael Heflin, who is the Assistant Dean of Diversity and Inclusion at Buffalo State College. Michael, welcome to today's show.
Thank you, Dale. Thank you. Thank you for having me on.
Well, I'll tell you, this has been a long time coming. And so I'm very happy that this conversation is happening now because I think it's so relevant with the type of political and community and civic unrest that we have throughout the nation. And your role in particular, you're on ground levels one, talking to the students and helping them, I guess, reshape their thinking to a degree. But before we go into that, could you just share with our viewers a little bit about yourself and the role that you have at Buffalo State College?
Well, a little bit about myself. I've been in a higher education administrator for roughly 27 years. I've had various positions at various colleges. I had the opportunity to come back to Buffalo in 2007 as the Associate Director of Residence Life, later promoted to the Director of Residence Life in 2013. In 2017, I became the Director of Residence Life and Housing. And after that, I became the Assistant Dean for Inclusion and Equity at Buffalo State College as of July 1. What I do at the college is really looking at our students and the impact of what's going on around their world as it relates to their college environment. I look at, I do programming on diversity and inclusion. When you look at social justice and what's happening in our world, oftentimes, we don't get the voice of the student. We see them protesting, we see them, upset about what's happening. Well, I'll tell you, one of the things I just recently did with our student leaders, which was 2 weeks ago, I run a series called Conversations with Hef, and we did a conversation on Dave Chappelle's 846. And I'll tell you, it was such a spirited conversation because in this presentation or program, what I allowed them to do was sit and watch Dave Chappelle's 846, which is a spin on social justice and what happened to George Floyd and some of the other things that's happened in our community over the last 6 months to a year. When I tell you, I had 179 participants, maybe 180 participants of our student staff that participated, and their voices were very, very passionate about what is going on in our community.
Okay. Well, clearly a very impressive resume. It speaks to your commitment to working with students. I think it's an understatement to say that you know what life is like on campus and outside of campus for the student experience, but you've done it all. And that's really what I'm relating to. You understand the challenges, the obstacles, the opportunities that many of our students face today, whether they are in state or out of state, because you've traveled and you've been exposed to the collegiate life for so many years. So again, a testament to your inspiration or your motivation for giving back to your own community.
Well, Dale, I'm glad you mentioned that giving back portion. You know, I'm an alum of Buffalo State with my bachelor's degree in business, my master's degree in student personnel. But I grew up in Western New York. I went to Seneca High School, played football, basketball, track, everything I possibly can. So when the students, when they do come to Buffalo State and they have these experiences, whether it's, you know, I don't have a father figure. I don't, you know, have a good place to get my hair cut. You know, when you say you know it all, done it all, but to being in that collegiate environment for 27 years, in state, out of state, but also in the community, understanding that I have a role and a responsibility to those young men and women that's looking to see people like them in important positions. So I take pride in that. I'm passionate about, you know, ensuring that I serve as a role model for them. And, you know, mentorship is very important to me.
Okay, all right, great. Well, because you wear so many hats, let's try to dissect that apart a little bit and maybe start with a life coach, because some of what I believe I'm hearing, you're providing that life coaching experience for the young women that you work with.
Well, the life coach piece was a personal thing that the college invested in me. In 2015, I became a certified life coach out of the Creative Coaching Academy in Atlanta. And that experience have allowed me really to not just, you know, we mentorship is one thing, but to take a person through a process that will allow them to develop and set goals for their life. You know, one thing about life coaching, we talk about, you know, you can be coached on something that is specific, or you can be coached through a life experience. And often I'll tell the individual that I'm working with is that it's not me telling you what to do, but it's more importantly us developing a plan, an action plan that will take you to a decision that you're comfortable with and take you to the next phase of your process. But life coaching is a process.
Speaking of faculty and students and that combination of each, Buffalo State College is located in a very diverse community part of Western New York. And I think as far as I know, your student population, overall student population, is a reflection of that. Is that a correct assumption?
Well, I'll tell you, it's correct to a degree. I mean, Buffalo State is a predominantly white institution. Let's not forget that. But you will see more faculty of color. I did have an opportunity when I worked as the Director of Equity and Diversity and working with our Chief Diversity Officer, who is no longer with us and at another institution in SUNY system, Dr. Karen Clinton Jones. I had an opportunity to look at our affirmative action plan and how we stack up against looking at the faculty within our organization, which you will find at Buffalo State, yes, we are more robust when it comes to seeing faculty of color, staff of color, administrators of color. So in comparison to other colleges, you will see a more representative perspective of the community that, you know, surrounds us in Western New York.
And I think that's an important statement because I cannot name the institution, but I recently had a conversation with another college or, you know, in academia. And what was stated in that conversation is that they wanted to hire more faculty members so that the student population that they were attracting looked like them. And it sounds as if Buffalo State has made that important in their faculty recruitment.
Well, yes. I mean, Buffalo State is part of a couple of unique programs, our diversity fellows. You know, they just received a SUNY grant to hire 5 faculty members. Last year, they hired 3 of the 5, and they're continuing on with that program. So Buffalo State consciously, you know, worked to ensure that there's representation. One of the things that we must point out is that when you're trying to diversify your faculty to make it look like and represent the population there, like when I was in the residence hall, for example, I probably was the only director in student of color, as a Black male of color. But the residence hall was 60% African American Latino. One of and I go back to the thought that when you're recruiting faculty of color, number one, we have to have qualified faculty and individuals interested in those particular sectors.
Yes.
When you're getting those highly technical faculty lines, we have to have qualified individuals and individuals that want to come to Western New York. Western New York has its own, persona as it relates to the snow we have, or just Buffalo perspective.
Well, Mike, we're going to take a very short break. Buffalo, do not turn that channel. When we come back, we're going to find out some of the other amazing things that Mr. Heflin is doing.
Hi, Lauren Lewis with Staff Buffalo. Hope everyone is having a great day. I wanted to share some tips with you today about LinkedIn. And a lot of what I've noticed using LinkedIn regularly, I use it all the time for work. I talk with a lot of candidates about how they can better use LinkedIn to help with their job search, and just kind of really talk about what I've noticed in using this so much and what helps to keep people engaged and getting noticed and building that great LinkedIn presence. So one of the first and most important things is you have to have a LinkedIn profile. Set one up. It's super easy to create. Make sure you have a picture. It's so important, especially on LinkedIn, to have a professional picture. It doesn't have to be a professional headshot, but just something that shows you. Preferably from here up, kind of what you're seeing now. It gives potential companies that are hiring you, potential hiring managers, an idea of who you are. And it just helps build that connection. It helps build a connection when someone can put a face with a name. So if you have any questions about LinkedIn, please let me know. I think the biggest takeaways are building your profile, making sure it's professional, following companies, connecting with people, and being engaged on LinkedIn. Those are some of the most important things you can do to really maximize your LinkedIn experience and build that traction. Again, if you have any questions, feel free to email me, llewis@staffbuffalo.com. It's LLEWIS@staffbuffalo.com. Thanks so much and have a great day.
Western New York at Work is brought to you by our key business partners and many business professionals.
Bocce's Club Pizza, Staff Buffalo, Buffalo Healthy Living, CAI, Hope Buffalo, Embassy Suites, 716 Limousine. Welcome back to Western New York at Work with Dale Martin and Michael Heflin. And today we've had a very powerful conversation. A gentleman that is a fabric of this community, that traveled throughout the country, but then came back. And so, Michael, I'd just like to say, again, let's kind of pick up on some of the things we talked about during the break, because when you think about yourself, you were also once a student yourself. So you can really relate to the living on campus and the whole student experience.
Mm-hmm. I've walked in the shoes of our students. I understand what they're going through. I understand the loneliness of being, in some cases, our students that come from downstate could be 400 miles away from their family, have no one to really communicate with, have no one to feel like, make them feel that there's a sense of belonging. A lot of my research with my PhD focused on Black male students at predominantly white institutions. So me walking in their shoes give me an opportunity when I'm running our Men of Merit program is to really take them along the journey, explaining to them that, yes, this is an experience that you hope over 4 to 5 years you would graduate, but it's more to just going to class and having them understand that outside experience, being a part of a student organization. I'm the advisor to the NAACP chapter at Buffalo State, and just seeing our students in action. I think there's a number of organizations at Buffalo State that really allow our students to really thrive. We have a rich athletic program, but also that culture of being a part of a community that when you look around, you see a lot of individuals from a student perspective that look like you and understand your story.
So that student engagement with the various organizations is very much a part of campus life at Buffalo State College.
Yes, it's important. I tell people, I've been a student affairs professional for so long, and I've crossed over into the part of administration. But, when I went to college many years ago, I wanted to be a businessman that made a lot of money and, trade stock. But when I found what my passion was, and I tell our students, you find your purpose, you find passion. You never work a day in your life because you are so passionate about what you're doing. So when I go to work every day and I see these young men and women, I'm encouraged and inspired by what they do on a daily basis to ensure that other students are involved and other students are engaged. It's almost like that, in Men of Merit, the program I run, we have a saying, reach, teach, and touch. I have a couple student leaders on my advisory board that we work to reach, teach, and touch those individuals in our community to inspire them to be great. Coming home is just been a great experience for me, but coming home to Buffalo State has been even greater because I have an opportunity to reach, teach, and touch some of those individuals in the Western New York environment that's looking for that. How do I get through this process? And I'm here to help them through that process, Dale.
Well, clearly, any parent that's looking at today's program is going to see feel and see the passion that you have for, being impactful for today's students and tomorrow's leaders. I want to kind of go back to the Men of Merit once again before we sign off for today's show.
Yes.
For any parent or community advocate that wants more information, how can they gather that information?
Well, one of the things I'll say about Men of Merit, I partner with ECC's Men of Merit program. Men of Merit was started at ECC by Marshall Jackson, and it's being continued on in that in this ECC environment. So I partner with them, and we do what's called a Be a Bingo experience, where when I was director of residence life, we had 5 students come from ECC's program and spend a night at the institution so they understand what it is to have that overnight experience, that collegiate environment. We take them through a number of programs and exercise over their night, maybe into an athletic competition. But, being able to partner with another school like ECC, that's a 2-year institution, and then, have them see what a 4-year institution college experience is, that's been very successful for us. So when I did my leadership conference 3 years ago today, it was our first Men of Merit Leadership Conference. And we were able to partner and bring constituents from Western New York, some of our leaders. I mean, one year we had, last year we had Dr. St. Phil, who was a professor at University of Buffalo. We've had Oswaldo Mestra, who is working very closely with our mayor. So we've had a number of individuals as our keynote speakers that come in and really be impactful and with our Men of Merit. How do you get in contact? I mean, it's really, so you can find it currently by looking on our website at the Equity and Campus Diversity. You can also find it by calling Michael Heflin at 716-878-6235. My email address is Heflin, spelled H-E-F as in Frank, L-I-N as in Nancy, M as in Mary, A as in Apple, at buffalostate.edu.
Great. That's fantastic. Now, I think before we close out today's show, once again, the one thing we have not talked about is how has the student life changed in this post-COVID-19 environment? I mean, there's a lot more remote learning that's happening,
Yes.
Throughout, the country. How has it changed how you engage with the students and their overall learning experience as well?
Well, we are doing some hybrid stuff at the college where we're doing some, remote instruction, but we're also doing some in-class work as well. We do have a population of students, I want to say roughly 2,000 students that are living on campus. So as the Director of Equity and Inclusion, working with our student leadership engagement and the Dean of Students, who is Sarah Young's team, it is our job to really focus on how do we engage those students inside and outside of the classroom. So this is one example. I mean, Now, if we were not in a COVID experience, this will probably be an in-person,
Yes.
conversation. So a lot of what we're doing is via Zoom. Our students are, tech savvy, and they're, our students want to see and touch people, talk to people, be in that space. But understanding where we are, we have to be conscious of, how this COVID-19 has impacted us over the last year, and we are trying to get through it. But more importantly, we're trying to ensure that our students are safe and comfortable. If you look at our president's message on her website, you will see that she's constantly updating our COVID-19 tracker, and basically trying to support our students. So we at Buffalo State, I say we're trying to do it right. Sometimes that, as this thing changes, we have to change on the fly with it. But I think our president and the Buffalo State campus have been very, very, successful in, as they say, taking the bull by the horn and continue to wrestle so that we have successful outcomes.
Speaking of taking the bull by the horn, and you've worked with so many students over the years, can you provide an example of a student that you just knew that he or she has some potential? You don't have to mention their name,
Right.
but you were inspired to work with them, and you might even be more inspired as a result of where he or she is today.
I'll tell you, my own experience, there had to be someone that inspired me. My former counselor, Evelyn Rosario, who retired when I was an EOP student, and Gene Tassi, some of those Otley Woodruffs of Buffalo State of the earlier years back in the 80s. These are individuals who inspired me and kind of taught me the way. And when I came back to Buffalo State, I was able to continue to, I call it pour in to students, investing students. I often tell my students is that they are their greatest investment. If you invest in yourself, the outcome on the end will be rewarding. So for me, it's really, I've poured in. I have a individual, he go by Coach Deuce. I remember him coming in, and his name is Nia Shai. He was an individual who taught, he's actually a faculty at Buffalo State now, currently, but went through our student affairs track for his master's degree. But not only inspiring him, he's been one of those individuals that push students to me and say, hey, if you want to know anything about Buffalo State, if you want to be, need a mentor, go see Mike Heflin. But we've also partnered together to really, as I say, one person don't do it alone. As they said, the old saying says it takes a village to raise a child. And that's the mindset that we have to have. It's not just me alone. It's the individuals, a community of people at Buffalo State, as well as the community of Western New York, that pushes our students from, who they are today to the leaders that they want to become.
Well, clearly, your message and the experiences that you've had, not only just for yourself, but with the students, have come full circle. Going back to something you said earlier, teach one, bring one. Just, it takes a community to raise us together. We're going to take another pause. And Mike, don't go anywhere. We're going to come back, and then we're going to close today's show out.
Bring it.
Time out, guys. I'm late to dinner. My mom's gonna kill me. Catch you guys later.
Mom wants us home. Okay. Bye, guys.
You guys need a ride?
Sure. Yeah.
All right. How about some one-on-one? I gotta go eat, man. Sorry, I'll see you later.
Maybe you can make retirement happen. After all, you made home ownership happen. Homeschooling yourself on loans, beefing up your credit score.
So I'm pre-approved.
You were like, yes! Sorry. Color coding listings, ticking boxes, and flushing every toilet in a 20-mile radius. Home sweet home. You aced house hunting. Now get the tips you need to get on track at aceyourretirement.org.
One of the things I like to leave, Dell, is that, one thing, a couple books that, well, I'm going to say a couple, but a book that has inspired me was Jim Collins' Good to Great. As I look at how do I continue to strive for greatness, as I mentioned earlier, trying to finish my PhD, and, that's one of the things I tell people. I've tried to inspire students to be their very best self over the years. And one of the things, and then people often ask me, Mike, why are you going back to school this late? You made great money at the college. You have a great impact at the college. I often tell them, I said, well, if I encourage my students to do their very best, I need to reach those same potentials as well, based on what I feel, But Jim Collins' book, Good to Great, have inspired me to continue to work at being great. So that's one plug. I think if anyone wants to get in contact with me, I am at Buffalo State College as the assistant dean for equity or assistant dean for inclusion and equity under the dean of students office at Buffalo State College. So my office number is 716-878-6235. My email address is Heflin, my last name, HEFLINNA, at buffalostate.edu. My one way to get to understand a little bit more about the Men of Merit is BSc Men of Merit through Instagram. And my own Instagram is M_HEF1 at Instagram as well. So you'll find a lot of inspirational quotes from me throughout the time that I'm on Instagram, but that's a couple ways to get in contact with me. Okay. You will see my logo is there. You'll see a logo of Heflin Life Coaching on my MHEF1 Instagram page.
Great. Well, we're going to keep our eye on you because you're doing some amazing things. And we just like here at Western New York just to say thank you for being a part of today's show. Clearly, greatness requires an abundance of inspiration. And you brought it to the show today. You're sharing it with your students. And you're creating a whole generation of greatness out of new leaders. And Buffalo, you've been watching Western New York at Work with Dale Martin. And today our featured guest is Michael Heflin. And you have a beautiful day, and we'll see you next Saturday.
Western New York at Work is brought to you by our key business partners and many business professionals.
Bocce's Club Pizza, Staff Buffalo, Buffalo Healthy Living, CAI, Hope Buffalo, Embassy Suites, 716 Limousine.